Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A lot of our guys, and the biggest thing about us is, we've won 6 in a row, and we got a little momentum, and I'm proud of that. We got another one on the road. We got one more conference game. It'd be great to finish up 7-1 in our league play. We know it's going to be very difficult going down to Georgia Tech, who's playing very, very well. Also, we're going to be judged on how we finish.
Dabo Swinney following the Tigers' tougher than expected win last night at Wake Forest. The Tigers survived a gutty performance by the Demon Deacons. I don't think the Tigers played at their emotional high or played at their best, but they did enough, especially in the fourth quarter, to get by and pick up another ACC win, pick up a road win last night, and now they are staring at 3 final games to get to 10 wins of this season and perhaps another trip to the Orange Bowl. We're going to hear all about it from Kevin McCrary, who's back at our Columbia studios tonight. He was in Winston-Salem to cover the Tigers last night, and we'll hear from Dabo Swinney and from Chad Morris as well. Good to have you with us on this Friday edition of Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut coming to you from my private bungalow along the Grand Strand after doing this afternoon what I was put on this earth to do, and that is play golf. I really believe that was my calling, was to play golf. My second calling is to do a sports talk show, which is why I came off the golf course to join K-Mac tonight on Sports Talk. Wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. So my idea, K-Mac, of a double cover quickly went out the window last night. That was a scary game for Clemson, but they found a way to pull out the W.
Yeah, I mean, I never felt like Clemson was going to lose, although it was a fourth-quarter game, and Wake Forest did give themselves at least a puncher's chance of winning that game. But offensively, they didn't have an answer for Clemson. It's pretty incredible. I don't think I've ever seen this happen, where a team scores 20 points and they have less than 200 yards of offense. In fact, not even close to 200 yards of offense. They had 119 yards of total offense. They carried the ball 34 times for 7 yards, less than 0.2 of a yard a carry in that ball game. That is pretty sick if you're Wake Forest. But they still put 20 points on the board and made it a game, by far the best game they played this season, according to all the Wake Forest people that I talked to up there last night. They played their best game against Clemson.
Yeah, and coming off that performance now, Clemson has statistically the number 1 defense in the country. They held Wake Forest to 119 yards last night, I think it was, total yards.
Yep.
Yeah. Tigers had 427 themselves. But we got some things to talk about. Deshaun Watson, how healthy is he for next week at Georgia Tech? Cole Stout, what's the condition of his shoulder? The things to talk about, including the Tigers' performance overall. 800-956-7266. We'll dive into your calls when we come back. It's the Friday night edition of Sports Talk. Good to have you with us wherever you happen to be tonight around the state. Maybe you're heading out to a high school football playoff game. 3A, 2A, 1A, SCISA, all into the playoffs. 4As will start their playoffs next week. Maybe you're going out on a date. Maybe you're out for a walk or a jog. Maybe you're still on the golf course in the dark. Maybe that's the best way to play golf, in the dark. I might have to try that someday. Might improve, if I can't see the ball, might improve my score. 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @sportstalksc. So your thoughts on Clemson's performance last night. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney. Also, David Shelton will be along to preview high school football tonight. In our next hour, the Governors will be here with the football filibuster for their weekly picks. Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR. We're in Phoenix this weekend, the last race before we get to the championship. So I guess you could call this the semifinals, the last of the qualifying events to get to the final four drivers for Homestead. And we'll have some recruiting for you as well. And Wofford coach Mike Ayers scheduled to join us in the next hour. They have a huge one tomorrow at UT Chattanooga, a chance for Wofford to improve its position in the Southern Conference race, facing the best team in league play thus far. 800-956-7266 is the number. So, Mac, the bottom line is for Clemson last night, it was not a quality performance by any means. They finished with 427 yards. A lot of that came late. Cole Stout was 27 of 42. He missed some open receivers. As you mentioned, he did connect on some third down conversion passes. He had a run or two to keep the chains moving. He had an ugly interception. But the Tigers had 8 penalties. They had a couple of turnovers that led to scores. They had a launching penalty on Robert Smith, going to cost him the first half of the Georgia Tech game. Maybe because of the time off they had. They were a little bit on the rusty side. They didn't appear to be very emotional and fired up about the game. Maybe that was because of the surroundings.
Yeah.
You were there. You saw it with your own eyes. So what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest, that's one of the dangers of playing there. It's a tough place to go because there isn't going to be a lot of energy in the stands. And Wake Forest played well. Clemson, they weren't sharp. Really, it's kind of been their MO, how they've been winning. The games have been fourth quarter games each of the past 3 or 4 weeks, and they found a way to win them, and that's the most important thing. I'm kind of at the same place I feel like I am every year with Clemson in mid-November. I just don't know how good they are. I think they're pretty good, but I don't know how good they are. I mean, their defense is ranked number 1 in the country. I think they're a really good defense. I think they're legit defensively, but then I look at some of the offenses that they played, and they haven't played any world-beating offenses. They haven't played a great quarterback yet. They missed Jameis Winston. I mean, Tyler Murphy, okay, but he's not what I would call a great quarterback. He got picked up off the scrap heap at Florida, and Hudson Mason at Georgia. I mean, they haven't had to face an elite offense, but they've done what they're supposed to do, which is dominate inferior offenses. And now on the Clemson side, we know they don't have Deshaun Watson, but my thing is, how much is he going to improve that offense when he comes back? How healthy is he going to be, and how much is he going to improve it? So when Clemson finishes the stretch here, they could be tested this week at Georgia Tech. That might not be an easy matchup there in Atlanta. They could be tested potentially against South Carolina. They will be tested in whatever bowl game they play in. So I still don't know how good Clemson is, and I think that's how I feel about them almost every year. I've been wrong about them a lot and how good or bad I think they are. Right when I start drinking the Clemson Kool-Aid, I get burned, and right when I think, well, maybe they're not that good, they go out and beat Ohio State. I mean, that's just how it works for them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A hard team to read sometimes. I think that Cole Stout's shoulder looks to be bothering him. He looked like, and I give him a ton of credit. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for handling this situation, for performing the way he has performed. But he looked like a one-armed man out there late in the game. Deshaun Watson now, if the plan is to, I mean, who's going to be the quarterback to take the first snap for Clemson next week in Atlanta? Are they going to throw Watson right back out there cold turkey?
I think so.
Is Stout going to get healed up in time to be the guy?
That's a good question. I mean, and here's the thing. It would have been Schussler playing last night. We got that confirmed after the game that Deshaun Watson was not going to play. Clemson could have been down 21 points in the third quarter, and they would not have brought in Deshaun Watson. He was not going to play in that game. And had Cole Stout come out, they would have gone with Schussler, who was actually warming up, according to Chad Morris, in the third quarter because they didn't think Stout was going to finish. I mean, he was really hurting with that left shoulder. That has been bothering him the entire time. So everybody that's been piling on him when he misses passes, he's hurt. He's out there trying to step up and fill in for the starter, and he's won every game. So he's done his job in that regard, and he hasn't made every play, but he's made the plays, and the offense has made the plays when they've had to. So you have to give credit there. I agree with what the point you made in that regard, Corn. But this week is going to be interesting because, I think the health of Deshaun Watson has been played up a little bit. He was grimacing reportedly on the sideline as he was making throws. He had a splint on his hand. They weren't going to play him last night, even if they needed him. That's very telling because they could have used him potentially last night. I mean, they were spinning their wheels a little bit offensively, and that was a tight game. And he might have been able to a healthy Deshaun Watson could have given them a spark. So this week, Dabo Swinney said he's going to take the reins on Monday, but they're going to watch him very close in practice to make sure he's 100%. And if not, I mean, they're going to go into Georgia Tech with two quarterbacks that aren't 100%, certainly.
Very dangerous situation there. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Lines are open on a Friday night. I know calls are usually a little slow coming in on a Friday night, but it is a Friday night after a Thursday night game. So Clemson fans, a chance for you to join us and share your thoughts statewide about how you're feeling regarding your team coming off of last night's game. I can't believe that the performance makes Clemson fans feel any more confident about their team, K-Mac, moving forward with, two really big games left, Georgia Tech on the road and then South Carolina 2 weeks after that. I don't think you can take a great deal of a very solid, confident feeling from that performance to think that the team took a step forward last night.
No, I don't think so. And I know they're pumping their chest, and they should be, about a defense that's ranked number one. But let's see how they come out of the Georgia Tech game where they will be tested with a potent offense there, tough offense against Georgia Tech. They're going to crush, who are they playing at, Alabama State or whoever in the
Georgia State.
Georgia State. But, and how they finish, and Dabo said this last night, he said, we're going to be judged on how we finish, and they are. If Clemson loses at Georgia Tech, and heaven forbid if they lose to South Carolina this year at home against that Gamecock team that could very well have a losing record when they roll into Death Valley, and they lose a bowl game, it'll get that's the thing about football. It can get ugly in a hurry. All those good feelings can disappear real fast. Ask the Gamecocks how fast, sunshine turns into dark clouds. And Clemson has to finish strong. They have to finish strong. They have to get some monkeys off their back here.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I don't think the South Carolina game for Clemson is by any means a shoe-in. I mean, South Carolina's defense has obviously had its major struggles this year, and I think, Clemson fans are feeling like, well, Deshaun Watson should have no trouble doing his thing against South Carolina, and even though South Carolina's offense has been very potent all season long, the feeling has to be among Clemson fans that their defense is good enough to stand up to any offense. I mean, right now they are the number one defensive team in the country statistically. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup between Brent Venables and Steve Spurrier. If Spurrier's on his game like he was against Auburn, is it going to be one of those kind of track meet games where South Carolina is scoring a lot, but their defense, is not able to stop Clemson? But if Cole Stout is at quarterback, then I give South Carolina's defense a boxer's chance in that game. We'll be right back. More Sports Talk in a moment. Talk here on a Friday night. Phil Kornblut from the Grand Strand at my private sports bungalow here along the Grand Strand. K-Mac back at our beautiful studios in Columbia. The Professor Tom Hayes taking the night off. The state man Gray and Pope once again behind the bulletproof glass. 800-956-7266. Let's go to Lamar in Olar. Hello, Lamar. How are you? Welcome in.
I'm doing fine, Phil. Do you think that South Carolina will lose Arden Key? He'll decommit from us because of losing a couple of games.
It's entirely possible. He's going to take some other visits. He's going to LSU tomorrow for the Alabama game. He's already got an official visit scheduled for Georgia last. I think South Carolina should be very concerned about it. Now, he is a kid that has publicly played the recruiting game to the hilt, and he likes a lot of drama around his recruiting. He's very hard to read as far as what he's actually thinking. So I don't know that you can count him in. I don't know that you can count him out. You're just going to have to wait till signing day with this guy.
Thank you, Phil.
You got it, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate the phone call. With that in mind, let me go ahead and give the recruiting report to you tonight. Recruiting report on Sports Talk is brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperative, sponsors of the Touchstone Energy Bowl, and we hope to see you there, of course, for one of the best all-star football games in the South, the North-South game, on December 17th in Myrtle Beach. All right. Since he got me started on recruiting, I thought I would finish with recruiting. Offensive lineman Sean Pollard from Southern Pines, North Carolina, will make another trip to Clemson for the USC game. He was there last weekend with his mother. He also visited for the North Carolina game with father and brother. Clemson and USC have offered him and are showing him a lot of interest. Clemson is telling him that they really want him to commit for the 2016 class. He's also been talking to USC's Sean Elliott. Duke, East Carolina, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest, Miami, and Penn State have offered as well. No favorite. USC has offered running back Anthony McFarland Jr. of Maryland. That's his first SEC offer. And former Clemson wide receiver Kyron Priester has landed at Washington State. Plans to enroll there in January and play for the Cougars next year. Basketball. According to Perry Dozier, USC did not get in on Thursday to see his son, 6'7" P.J. Dozier, but Frank Martin was to be in to meet with them at the school today. Still no decision, no announcement date set. They're looking at Wednesday for the announcement and are working with ESPNU on a location at the school or at the Charlotte studio. North Carolina, Georgetown, Michigan, and Louisville are the others involved. 6'9" Ibuka Ezundu of Nigeria and Charlotte has set his official visit with Clemson for December 11th. According to his coach, he's deciding between Clemson and Charlotte, and his coach said he wants to get a better feel for Clemson before deciding. Right now, does not look like he will sign early. And we will update Tevin Mack and his status after the break. Be right back.
First of all, I want to just really compliment Wake Forest and the great effort that they put forth tonight. Great.
We are back at Sports Talk on a Friday night. We thank you for being with us tonight, wherever you happen to be dialed in around the great state of South Carolina. Phil Kornblut and Kevin McCrary with you tonight. Want to wrap up the recruiting report by updating Tevin Mack of Dreer. Spoke with his mom just before showtime tonight. Undecided as of tonight. All 5 schools, USC, Clemson, Connecticut, VCU, and Georgia, remain alive. He's hoping to have a decision Tuesday or Wednesday. Of course, Wednesday is the first day of the signing period. Now, Mack and his mother will visit USC tomorrow following the Gamecocks practice, and that will be his final meeting with Frank Martin. He was not able to get over to their place, I guess, to meet with him, so they're going to go over to USC. And his mother said that he has not indicated a favorite. All right, so with 2 top 100 basketball players here in the state, both of them are going to go down to the wire in terms of a announcement leading up to the signing period, which begins on Wednesday. They don't have to do anything Wednesday. Now, this isn't like football. Football, the guys, 99.9% of them rush to sign on the first day. But it's a signing period. Just like in football, it's a signing period. You don't have to sign on the first day. Basketball players don't have to sign on the first day. It's a 10-day period, I believe, that they have to sign early. So, but it sounds like both Dozier and Mack want to get this thing done by the beginning of the signing period next week. Don't forget, you can always check out our recruiting information at our website, sportstalksc.com, and also on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting to take you right to our recruiting information. All right, 800-956-7266 is our number. K-Mac was in Winston-Salem last night to watch Clemson take on Wake Forest. K-Mac, it was a hard-fought win for the Tigers and for Dabo Swinney, but you listen to Dabo talk after the game, it sounds like he felt pretty good about the way the Tigers played for the most part.
I've never seen Dabo unhappy after a game. Even after a loss, very rarely is he unhappy. I can count on just probably one hand how many times I've seen him unhappy, and last night was certainly not one of those times.
First of all, I want to just really compliment Wake Forest and the great effort that they put forth tonight. Great fight. I thought their team played with great efforts and a great will to win. But proud of our team. That's 6 in a row, and it was a weird game. It was a weird game. They only had 119 yards of offense, but we just had a lot of adversity that we had to overcome tonight, big time. And I'm proud of our guys. Finding a way to win by a couple touchdowns, and I thought we did a tremendous job in the fourth quarter in particular. The biggest frustration was 2 scores off the turnovers. You can't give anybody, a short field like we did on those couple opportunities. The one on the pick, and then really just poor decision on the punt return. We misplayed the ball, just just let it go. Don't try to make some great. There's no rule that says you got to catch it. And so we made a real big mental error right there and gave them a short field, and they punched it in twice. So, great job by them executing, getting those 2 scores. But, again, proud of our guys because we overcame it. We overcame a bunch of penalties. And then defensively, as far as how they finished the game, only 119 yards, 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. And Shaq Lawson was tremendous, made some big plays, a couple of sacks himself. I think he had 3 or 4 tackles for loss himself. And then offensively, we had a little run there where I think we scored like 5 out of 6 possessions and would have scored again if we just catch the pitch. Whatever reason, we dropped a couple pitches around here that we got to make that play. And so I'm really proud of our offense. Really, really proud of our offense. 100-yard rusher, 100-yard passer, Cole Stout. Got banged up, wasn't sure he was going to be able to continue to play, but man, he gutted it out, threw 3 touchdown passes, and we had some big plays in the game, had some big conversions, had a couple big 4th downs, I think, and one big one for sure. So I'm really proud of what we were able to do. Wayne Gallman was tremendous. Artavis Scott, 8 for 122. But our offensive line, I thought, really kind of took the game over when we had to have to be able to run ran the counter in for the long touchdown there at the end. Just had it up really well. We had some excellent blocking with our tight ends, some good blocks on the outside, especially on the one with Artavis. So again, just a good team win. Ammon Lacob, 2 big field goals once again. Pinion averaged 49 yards a punt. So we did a lot of good things, but it was one of those frustrating games, 4 quarters, and a lot of times when you play Wake Forest, it is. They're a team that fights with everything they have and always have. So, but again, proud of our guys, and the biggest thing about us is, we've won 6 in a row, and we got a little momentum, and I'm proud of that. We got another one on the road. We got 1 more conference game. It'd be great to finish up 7-1 in our league play. We know it's going to be very difficult going down to Georgia Tech, who's playing very, very well also. But, we're going to be judged on how we finish. And, we don't have a long time left in our season. So we've got to come back to work and correct some of the mistakes, clean up some of the miscues. Really disappointed in how we've taken care of the ball in the last 2 games. That's something that we got to get changed. We cannot keep putting ourselves downhill or uphill and putting our defense in bad situations with the turnovers. But our guys will get another little bit of a break. I like our schedule. It's fun to, have a Thursday night game, and guys will get a little bit of a break again this weekend, and then they'll get back in here Sunday, and we'll get moving forward and see if we can find a way to make it 7 in a row next week. Again, we know it's going to be a very difficult challenge for us, but proud of our guys, and again, defensively, 119 yards. They stepped up when we had to have it, and then offensively, just some tremendous plays. We saw the explosiveness back in our offense that we hadn't had, and I love the confidence that I saw in those guys. I saw it, really, to be honest with you, the second half of our last ball game, and we talked about all week about picking up where we left off, and it was a very good game offensively in a lot of ways.
All right, there you go with Dabo Swinney. That was the opening segment of this news conference after the game last night, and came back, as we said, and as you accurately portrayed him as well, always in an upbeat mood, always positive after a win, and did cite a few areas of concern, some poor decisions made on the field. They did have a lot of penalties. One of the penalties in particular was a slap to the helmet on a I think it was a
Hail Mary. Down. Yeah, that was the end of the half. The half would have been over there. Yeah. And the targeting one
kept the half alive.
I want to talk about the targeting penalty on Robert Smith, because I just took a beating on Twitter last night. And first of all, I get why fans and Dabo Swinney and Brent Venables don't like that call. And I don't say I get it. I mean, I don't like that call either. I mean, the guy's got to make a football play. You don't want to let him just catch the ball. But they're calling that now. And I know he didn't lead with his helmet, and he got him with the shoulder, and he got him mostly in the chest. And if you launch and leave both feet like he did, and you hit a receiver going over the middle that's not ready for the hit, a defenseless receiver up high, they're going to throw a flag and kick you out of the game. You can hate it, but that's just what they're doing. You got to go low there. That's what you have to do now. And we can talk about the wussification of football all we want, but if you do that, you're going to get tossed out of the game. That's the way it works now.
Yeah. And the ACC reviewed it today, and they stand behind the call the officials made last night. We'll be right back. More sports talk in a moment. Friday edition of Sports Talk, 800-956-7266, the number if you'd like to join us. Of course, 1 week from tonight, the college basketball season begins. Are you ready for some basketball? USC, Clemson, the other basketball teams around the state will be opening up their college basketball season 1 week from tonight. Both the Tigers and the Gamecocks will have home openers next Friday night. Speaking of the Gamecocks, Ray Tanner was in Orangeburg last night to speak to the touchdown club there, and picking up on some of his quotes that were in the Orangeburg Times and Democrat from his comments last night. He said that in talking about Steve Spurrier, Tanner said that he wants to see Spurrier back on the sidelines next year and hopefully for years to come. He told those in attendance, according to this report, that all should hope Spurrier returns for his 11th season. He said, so we ought to keep our fingers crossed that we finish strong, this is Tanner talking, and that he'll not only be back next year, but maybe a number of years to come. Hopefully, he continued, these last 3 games we'll have an opportunity to do some good things and get in a bowl somewhere. Of course, you know, Spurrier has only said that the plan is to return for next year. So, K-Mac, what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of hemming and hawing going on about Spurrier's future at South Carolina. Nobody is coming out and saying with 100% certainty that he will be back, no questions asked. It's just the wording that we're hearing both from Spurrier and now from Tanner. Just, you know, in my mind, leaves that door open that there's some semblance of belief that he might not be back next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, he's going to turn 70. So if the Gamecocks were 10-1 right now, I think people would be asking the same questions. Was Spurrier ready to ride off into the sunset? Is this going to be it for him going out on top? You know, he's at that stage in his career now where winning big or losing big, people are going to ask these questions. Really, they're going to ask it every year anyway because he's 70 years old. And he said that he wasn't going to coach deep into his 70s. He's maintained that for a while. I think he'll be back next year, but I also have been around Spurrier long enough to know he's very reactionary. And if the Gamecocks go into the tank and they lose out and don't make a bowl game, and it's rough, you know, I don't know if he will want to put himself through it again, unless he knows without a doubt that they're going to be much improved next year. Because Steve Spurrier doesn't much care about losing a bunch of games. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to hurt his legacy. You know, he's staring at his first losing season in a long, long time. Did he have a losing season at Duke? I mean, has he ever had a losing season?
I'd have to go back and look that up. Outside of
he's never had one at South Carolina.
Tampa Bay Bandits. Yeah.
Yeah, no, with the Redskins.
All right,
I mean,
back to the phones we go. Yeah, and the Redskins, of course. Let's go to Ricardo in Swansea. Hello, Ricardo. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Why aren't you talking about the big topic, what you shot today down at the beach? Isn't that the real topic going on that people want to know about? How low did Cornblue go?
You know, it's a shame that Reggie Anderson has to make up a name to get on Sports Talk just so his voice can be heard. For the short time he's on our show, his voice can be heard by more people than will view him in a month on Channel 19, K-Mac. Isn't that just a sad commentary on where his career is today?
Yep, that is very sad. I always feel bad for Reggie every time I see or talk to him. I just feel so.
You know, maybe we should invite him to come sit in with us sometime so people can actually.
Yeah, he doesn't have anywhere to call anymore now. I mean, he's driven an entire station in Columbia off the air single-handedly.
Yes,
I mean, that's the inside story. A sports radio station in Columbia ceases to exist now because of Reggie calling in too much, and he got his kids involved. I mean, that's what's really sad. He gets his kids involved, and it's just, it's very sad. I haven't seen anything as this much exploitation since Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart. It's just, to hear his voice and to hear how lost he is and sad. It bothers me. Maybe we can Maybe we can start a fund for him or something like that. Can we do that? Can we start a Help Reggie fund?
Yeah, maybe we will, like some crowdsourcing, a Kickstarter, and just have people donate to help Reggie, really for his kids, because they're going to need the therapy down the road, I think.
No question. I mean, if you had Reggie as a father, how do you think you would turn out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, coming up on a break here on Sports Talk. After the break, David Shelton, a man that we do respect for his depth of knowledge about high school football. He'll join us. We'll talk about some of the top matchups in the playoffs tonight and in the last Friday night of regular season play in 4A football. We'll be back with that in a moment here on Sports Talk.
Until I had a 2-month hiatus there.
All right, the playoffs are here in South Carolina for classes 3A, 2A, and 1A as we begin the process of crowning numerous football champions in our state. David Shelton joins us. How many championships are we handing out this year? Is it about, 12, 13 football champions we'll crown this year?
Every team that made the playoffs is going to get a trophy. It's like a Y League.
That's good. That's the good thing about the state of South Carolina. We're not interested in hurting anybody's feelings.
No, it's all inclusive.
You guys.
I mean, practically every team that played this year is in the playoffs. So, anyway, that's a debate for another night.
Not
Good to have you
Berea.
with us once again. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Not Richland Northeast.
and not Richland Northeast. Yeah. Which game are you at tonight, David?
I'm actually in Monk's Corner watching Berkeley and Dreer. Interested to see how this Dreer team, after finding out they're not in the playoffs, to back in the playoffs, and see how they respond, and take a look at Lorenzo Ward's son and see if he's a good football player, which I hear he is.
Yeah, he is. Good running back, good hard-nosed running back, and has had a really good year. He's had a little bit of an injury thing here of late, but had a really good year. You get a lot of dog matchups in the first round of the playoffs, but I guess in the 2-3 pairings you might see some good games. Which games are you really interested to see how they turn out tonight?
There's some interesting games. I think the most interesting game, and if there is going to be a 4 beat a 1, I think Daniel at AC Flora is an interesting matchup because Daniel is a pretty darn good football team to be a 4 seed, but they're playing the toughest region in 3A. And AC Flora has won that region, only one loss, had a very good year, have some really good players, but maybe have not been in this situation before. Daniel, defending upper state champs, has been there, done this many times. So I think if there's one to watch, if there's going to be a 4 beating a 1, I think that one might be one that could take place. I'm not predicting that, but I think that's one that could happen.
All right, on the 4A level tonight is the last night of the regular season. Which particular game or games are you going to be watching on the 4A side of things?
Well, I think, perhaps the biggest game may be Goose Creek Stratford, two teams that are red hot. I think they might be playing for a number 1 seed in Division II, but most of the games around the state are mostly battling for playoff seeds now. So it'll be an interesting night, but more the playoffs.
Okay, David, thank you, my man. And you can read David's stuff, of course, online at the High School Sports Reports website. That's hssr.com. He also has coverage in the Low Country for the Charleston Post and Courier. Our high school football report here on Sports Talk brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. All right, coming up after the break, we'll have our football filibuster with the Governors. We'll have the full Monty on NASCAR. We'll hear from Clemson offensive coordinator Chad Morris and Wofford coach Mike Ayers. A loaded second hour is coming up. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrae, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we are back. It's hour number 2 of Sports Talk. Going to be a very busy hour with a lot of stuff to cover. We've got the Governors coming up here after the next break, our football filibuster for this week. We'll hear from Clemson offensive coordinator Chad Morris. Monty Dutton will join us with the full Monty on NASCAR. And Coach Mike Ayers will be along to talk about the big matchup for his team tomorrow at Chattanooga, which in essence is a battle for the lead in the Southern Conference. Meantime, over at Phoenix Speedway, they're 21 minutes into the first round of qualifying, and Joey Logano right now has had the fastest speed on the track at 142.141. Brad Keselowski next at 141.354. Then it's Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Gordon, your top 5 in round 1 of qualifying. So the knockout form of qualifying being put to use today at Phoenix. Sad news from South Carolina today as the university announced the passing of former football All-American and Gamecock Club director Ed Pitts, who died at his home on Thursday. Pitts is regarded as one of the Gamecocks' finest linemen, having starred for the Gamecocks in the late 50s, and he earned all ACC honors in 58 and 59. Later became the head of the Gamecock Club, served in that capacity for 22 years, and was inducted into the South Carolina Athletics Hall of Fame in 2002. And I got to know Mr. Pitts a little bit over the years, and it was just a very, very fine gentleman and very highly regarded around the Gamecock community. So very sorry to hear about his passing on Thursday, and again, that announced today by the university. All right, what else is going on? You talk about NASCAR, we'll have more with Monty Dutton coming up later, but Kurt Busch came back, might have himself in some hot water off the track. There's an investigation going on in Delaware where his ex-girlfriend lives, and she's making some charges against him about domestic abuse.
Yeah, just another bad piece of PR for NASCAR. I pointed this out. You know, they kind of get a pass, but they are one of the major sports. And, you know, if there was a basketball, if tonight in the NBA 2 teams start fighting and punching the way they did in the pits after the race Sunday, how would that go over on television? You know, if one of the big stars in the NBA, if Rajon Rondo was being investigated for domestic battery, how would that go over? And Bush is one of the stars in the sport. And you had that unfortunate incident on the track where a driver was killed by one of your stars. I mean, it has not been a great year for NASCAR in terms of the off the track and on the track stuff, in my opinion, but they get a pass.
Yeah, well, you're right about the stuff that's been going on, and it's not good, and they'll have to address it at some point. All right, the Governors, they're going to join us after the break. week. That's our football filibuster for this Friday night here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in a moment. Well, it's that time of the week when we bring together not only two of the great political minds of the modern era in South Carolina, but two of the great football minds as well. Of course, we're talking about former governors David Beasley and Jim Hodges together once again for our football filibuster. Good to have the two of them with us. Governor Hodges, of course, after what happened on Tuesday, Governor Hodges bolted from the state. He's in New Orleans, and we found him wandering on Bourbon Street trying to find some relief. How are you, sir?
Yeah, you're about right about that, but I did find some relief. It's called Maker's Mark.
Governor Beasley, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. It's good to be with you.
Good to have you with us as well. Know you're feeling good, especially after last week on two fronts, Governor. Pretty well in the election. You went 5-5 your picks, so that puts you at 44 and 56. Governor Hodges 3-7, 49 and 51 going into this week.
Oh, I've got a little work to do. There's no doubt about that. Both of us do. But David had a terrific week last week, and let's hope both of us can get above the high water mark this week.
Well, he's got a little momentum going for him now, so let's see if he can keep it going. We've got 10 very good games to look over this week. So, guys, let's get at it. Governor Beasley, we'll let you lead since you are trailing in the overall competition. Things aren't over, though. You're only 5 games back, and we've got a few more weeks to go and some very competitive games coming up, so things could really go either way here down the stretch as you try to pull the Corn Cup away from Governor Hodges for the first time in history. We know you can do it. Not that we're rooting for you over Governor Hodges. I mean, we don't have a dog in the fight. We just want to see a good competition. So Let's go to Notre Dame at Arizona State, Governor Beasley. And the home team, Arizona State, is favored by 2.5.
I'm going to go with Arizona State. A little home field advantage. This is going to be a pretty interesting game, but Arizona State.
Arizona State. Governor Hodges.
You know, I've got a good feeling about Eric Golston and about Brian Kelly in big games. I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one.
All right, you've got the Fighting Irish. Baylor at Oklahoma. The Sooners at home, Governor Beasley, and they're favored by 6.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I will go with underdog here. Give it a shot with Baylor. Try to pick up a game here.
Okay, well, Baylor's certainly capable with their offense. Governor Hodges?
I think I'll take the overdog here. I'm going to take Sooners. I believe that they'll win this one by more than 6.
All right, very nice, very nice. How about this one? Ohio State at Michigan State, Big Ten battle, and the Spartans, Governor Beasley, at home, favored by 3.5.
I'm going to go with Michigan.
State.
Yeah, Michigan State.
You don't want to go with Michigan, but you will go with Michigan State. Governor Hodges.
I don't think I'd take Michigan against Columbia College. I think, I'm going to take Michigan State in that game.
Michigan State it is. You don't want to mess with the young quarterback at Ohio State, huh?
No, that's too risky there. And Michigan State, I think that this is going to be a really nice year for them.
All right, to the ACC, and it's Louisville at Boston College. The home team is the home team is getting 3. Louisville's the favorite, so BC at home is getting 3, Governor Beasley.
I'm going to go with Louisville on this one. I think they have a chance to kind of make Boston College squirm a little bit. So, Louisville.
Governor Hodges?
I'm with Governor Beasley on that one. I think Louisville is going to win that game.
I don't know, guys. BC has looked pretty good to me. Duke at Syracuse. Syracuse is at home and getting 3.5 against the suddenly powerful Duke football team. Governor Beasley.
Oh, you know Duke's got such a powerful leg in football. So I'm going with Duke. They got a history of what
Hodges, what do you think?
I totally agree with Governor Beasley.
All right, Governor Hodges.
Really played very well, so I'm going to take Duke.
You want Duke, too. You got him. All right, Governor Hodges, you shall lead us now on the next 5. We begin with Georgia Tech at NC State. Again, the home team is the underdog, getting 3.5.
I pick wrong on Georgia Tech every game, whether I pick them to win or to lose, but I might as well keep that string up. I'm going to take Georgia Tech in this game.
Yeah, they're a hard team to figure out. Governor Beasley?
I want to go with what Governor Hodges is saying, but every time I go against NC State, I lose, and every time I go with NC State, I lose. So I'm going with NC State. It's got to be the odds that I'll win one time.
They do you no favors. How about to the SEC we go, and Florida at Vanderbilt, the resurgent Gators on the road, favored by 14.5. Governor Hodges.
Yeah, they looked really, really good last week against Georgia. I'm going to take Florida. I mean, Vanderbilt's just so bad. Even with Florida's questionable offense, I think Florida will beat them by that much.
Governor Beasley?
Governor Hodges is probably right, but I would give an underdog home field advantage, and maybe the heavens will open up and something happen with Vanderbilt that hasn't happened yet this season. So I will give Vanderbilt an underdog shot.
Oh, wow. Okay, you will need some heaven intervention to help you win that bet. No question. Let's try Texas A&M at Auburn, and Auburn is favored by 21.5 at home. Governor Hodges.
Well, A&M is really the wheels have gone off the tracks with them, and certainly they've got their quarterback situation now that is problematic for them. I think Auburn's going to beat them pretty handily, so I will take Auburn.
You'll take Auburn, lay the 21.5. Governor Beasley, what do you think?
Yeah, oh boy, I think Auburn could give up 30, but I'm going to go with an underdog again and go with Texas A&M. I might be crying in a couple of days, but Texas A&M, there ain't no way they're going to win, but they might pull it within 18 or 19.
Governor Hodges, somebody has told Governor Beasley to roll the dice against you here to catch up. He's playing the risk card.
He's very bold, and with the 21 and a half points, it's probably a pretty good risk. So he's smart on that.
All right, keep in mind A&M's going to have to play the freshman quarterback because the other guy's still suspended. How about Georgia at Kentucky? Kentucky's getting 10 at home. Governor Hodges.
I'm going to take Georgia. They're up and down, and they were lousy last week. And I know the sexy pick if Kentucky will keep it close, but I think the Dogs are going to really rip them big in this one. So Georgia.
Governor Beasley.
I think Governor Hodges' analysis is pretty good, but I will, the Kentucky boys, I think, will have a home field advantage. Go give them enough excitement to keep it within the 10 they're getting. So, Kentucky.
Kentucky. All right. And finally, the big one, Alabama at LSU. Not as big as it has been in the past, but still big anytime they get together. LSU at home. Getting 6.5. Alabama 6.5-point favorite. So the Tigers are getting the points. What do you think, Governor Hodges?
I'm down in New Orleans, and there are lots of Bama and LSU fans who are down here in the first quarter. So I've been seeing them around today. I'm going to take Alabama. This is a tough one, and I know it's a big home game, but I think Alabama is playing pretty darn good, and they'll win this one by at least a touchdown.
Governor Beasley?
Oh, boy, might be the toughest one on there. And I'm going to roll the dice one more time with a little home field advantage. I probably regret this one. I won't tell Mary Wood for a week or two. But LSU.
Governor Beasley is trying to make his move. He is tired of fooling around, and he is adamant about making his move this week. Guys, we thank you so much. Governor Hodges, hope you feel a little bit better. Enjoy your time down there in New Orleans. And Governor Beasley, thank you for being with us. Look forward to being with you guys next week. That's our football filibuster for this Friday night here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in a moment.
It's a huge confidence boost when Artavius was able to take the distance on. It's a huge confidence boost when Artavius was able to take that.
All right, back on Sports Talk. Don't forget Talking Tuesday next week, brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. We'll be hearing plenty from Clemson and USC next week as the Tigers get ready for Georgia Tech. Gamecocks get ready for Florida, both going on the road. But K-Mac, last night you had a chance to join in on the question and answer session with Chad Morris after the win at Wake Forest.
Yeah, and listen closely to the tail end where he talks about the quarterback situation. But he began by talking about the confidence builder that long touchdown to go up 7 in the fourth quarter was.
It's a huge confidence boost when Artavis was able to take the distance on first play. I mean, that was really big, huge momentum play for us, and that was great to see. I mean, you actually saw guys on the sidelines that were like, okay, here we go, and that's what we've been telling them for the last 3 weeks. You just need one guy to make a play and get this thing rolling, and it was good to see that. I was really proud of the way our guys have gotten better and performed. Obviously, disappointing still in short yardage. It's been a problem all year long, but overall, very, very pleased with the way these guys, considering everything that they've been through over the last month and how they found ways to win and actually come out and perform probably the best we have in a while.
Again, Coach, your offense comes through with all the problems. You come through in the fourth quarter when you got to do it the most.
Well, that's kind of been our trademark, over the last few weeks. Wish we kind of start that thing early and get going with it. But again, those guys are actually playing better. I mean, we're playing better. We came in this week and really just had a great week of practice. Probably one of the best weeks of practice and just really try to stress the fact of running the football. I mean, we wanted to run the football. We weren't going to give up on running the ball. And there was times, on the sidelines we were trying to, again, disappointed we weren't able to get some situational runs in there. But, again, stayed with it. And I thought Wayne did a good job. I thought our offensive line did a really good job, especially late in the game.
Wayne seemed more patient in the second half, waiting on his zone.
Well, that's something he worked on. And we really tried to focus on the last week and is being patient with it and understanding it's going to take a little bit of time. And he's feeling it out. I think there's probably one coming off that goal line I wish he'd have stayed inside on. He bounced it to the sidelines and wasn't patient enough on it. I thought we had a crease there coming out of our back end zone. But again, that's part of being a young guy, and he's learning. He's getting better. And, again, it's back-to-back weeks of 100-yard plus. And, again, that's a tribute to our offensive line, those guys digging in up front as well. Yeah, I thought Cole did a really good job managing the game. I know he had a bad ball early and was late on a throw, and thought we had a chance to pick up the first down. They were sitting on the chains. We knew they would be, and we're a little late on it. But he did a good job. I thought he did a great job, especially early or late in that first half, of hitting his checkdowns and keeping drives alive and a big throw to Artavis Scott on our sidelines on a 3rd and long, and then be able to find Wayne Gallman on a check down. Thought he did a good job managing the game. Ran the ball well. When we had to have him running the ball, it's pleased to see him run. The guy that's been playing hurt the last few weeks, and just a tribute to him and being a senior and battling and scratching and clawing. I'm really proud of him.
All right, Chad Morris following the Tigers' win last night against Wake Forest. We'll be back.
It's sort of inevitable on Chad's last. He's the guy bearing the brunt of that now.
All right, Monty, thank you, my friend. Good hearing from you. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week here, the Full Monty on NASCAR. Let's go racing for a little bit here on Sports Talk tonight. It's time for our Full Monty on NASCAR. Monty Dutton joins us. Monty Dutton of MontyDutton.com, former NASCAR beat writer and now a full-time observer of the sport as we go to Phoenix this weekend. Monty, for what is the, I guess you call this the last race of the semifinals, because from here we'll know the four guys who will race for the championship at Homestead.
That's right, Phil. And you know, a week ago, I said that that we shouldn't forget that the same misfortunes that happened the first week could reverse the next week. That's largely what happened, along with a great deal of other stuff, extracurriculars. But The fact is that the 8 people who will be reduced to 4 are separated, I believe, by only 18 points, which 18 points is a considerable margin, but it really does make it where they go into the Phoenix race with virtually anyone having a chance.
Which is what they wanted when they drew up this new format. Of course, they wanted to generate more interest, but they also wanted to have some drama going into that last race, and they're going to have drama because we'll have 4 guys starting equally, and whoever finishes highest is going to be your champion.
Well, they also, it is a sort of a cataclysmic thing, and that's pretty obvious when you recall that. I wonder if they wanted a riot, on pit road, because 2 of the last 3 weeks they've had a big battle royal, and one of them. Brad Keselowski was angry enough that he went wide open through the garage area, sending people scattering, and I heard knocking a transmission halfway across the garage. But that was small compared to last week, where you had the everybody talks about the Keselowski and Jeff Gordon tiff. But the most amusing thing to me was what I thought the most Kevin Harvick thing ever, because Kevin is a guy who loves to stir things up, and the brawl that was touched off largely happened because of Harvick's insistence that Keselowski confront Gordon by shoving him toward Gordon. And this weekend there's been all sorts of that's become known as Harvicking recently on the circuit. But I mean, I think it's interesting to me when I hear people say, "Boy, the ratings will go through the roof this week." If the ratings go through the roof because everybody shows their rear, I mean, I know but I mean, I just wonder at what price do you want this? Because I don't know when something like that happens. I mean, how much do you want the audience to be the same people who go nuts about wrestling every week? I mean, does it undermine the quality of the sport, or does it increase interest and make it grow?
Was that the worst garage area, pit road area brawl that you've seen? I mean, I know there's been some famous skirmishes over the years, Allison Brothers and Yarborough and all that back in Daytona. But, I mean, in terms of – you even had crew members who weren't part of the main teams involved getting involved. It's like all these people who wanted to punch out Keselowski came out of the woodwork to go at him.
Yes, I think it was a pretty sordid spectacle. You know what always happens, and it's not just in racing, is that there's always people who get excitable who, when it gets right down to it, don't really know what happened. A lot of times the drivers, they don't really know how it was, or they got turned around, and so they assume it was the other guy's fault. And, those of us who are watching from home know a lot more of the background than other people do. But yes, it was a real mess, and as far as you say, it's the worst I've ever seen. I think that the one that comes to mind to me would have been the time that I believe it was 1989 when Rusty Wallace wrecked Darrell Waltrip at the end of what was then known as the Winston. The time that Waltrip said that he hoped Rusty Wallace choked on that $200,000, or an amount of money that was an incredible amount of money back then, and now it's like, $200,000. Who cares? You get that every week. But that was a lot of money back then, and there was a full-fledged brawl between the teams after that. But I don't think I've ever seen it where it was just completely out of control. I think they raced it. For instance, there were a lot of media people right there in the middle of it. And I was sitting there at home thinking that, well, if I'd been there, I might have been one of them. And so I think the danger you have is you have some person who's like a woman commentator for ESPN. If you have some situation where they have someone knocked down and someone gets seriously injured, it would be quite a stain on the sport. But it was exciting. It does have everybody talking.
That it does. Let's get to the activity on the track today in practice. Kevin Harvick, 141.521. Keselowski, 140.851. Dale Jr., 140.362. What kind of things are you hearing coming from the track about the performances so far? Who looks good? Who normally does well at this track?
Well, this is Harvick's whole card. I believe he's won 3 of the last 4 races at Phoenix. And so he's famously strong there, particularly recently. Those things ebb and flow. Usually at any given time, there's a guy who's been real good lately that tends to fade over time and someone else gets the edge. But it is compelling that Harvick and Keselowski, who both need to win because they're down the way a bit, are very fast. Maybe that's completely predictable, but I think that we're going to have another knockdown drag-out. I mean, the question that NASCAR must face with this exciting format is it one of those cases where it's watch what you ask for, you might just get it? Because they wanted things to get crazy, but did they want them to get literally crazy and violent? And it's sort of like the heat gets turned up more every week. and you wonder how long people are going to be able to stay in the kitchen.
Well, I thought Jeff Gordon went overboard last week, going back to the incident. I thought Keselowski made a perfectly fine pass, took advantage of an opportunity. Yes, the car's brushed, but he didn't punt him into the wall or anything like that. And, it was a racing incident, and he made a racing move. So I really think Jeff Gordon went over the top with his anger and parking his car right there and getting out of it and going after Keselowski.
I think that that's true, but people with those kind of stakes on the line who are trying to make this are not going to see it from a impartial view. And I think that there's obviously a great deal of resentment, maybe because the same type of resentment that greeted Dale Earnhardt when he was young, and the same type of resentment who greeted Jeff Gordon when he came along, and the same type of resentment that brings that accompanies any young person who sort of upsets the apple cart of the sport. Darrell Waltrip was another good example of somebody who just basically has a lot of other people who are saying, who's he coming here thinking he owns the racetrack? Well, the guys who are like that tend to be the ones that wind up going to the Hall of Fame, because they always think that any unclaimed territory belongs to them. And so I don't think that's unusual when generations change and younger drivers come along. There's resentment in the old group. I've heard drivers say a million times, Dale Jarrett didn't forget how to drive a race car. Or, Darrell Waltrip didn't forget how to drive a race car. Well, they do over time forget how to drive a race car as good because they get older and no one beats Father Time. But there's always friction when the older generation gets shoved out by a younger generation. And I don't know what the body of work is, but I think it's, it's sort of inevitable in Keselowski. He's the guy bearing the brunt of that now.
All right, Monty, thank you, my friend. Good hearing from you. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week here, the Full Monty on NASCAR. right, back with you on Sports Talk here on this Friday night, rolling along and touching a number of different subjects as we get back into football, and we welcome into the program Wofford coach Mike Ayers as the Terriers are headed to Chattanooga for a Southern Conference game tomorrow. Coach, how are you tonight?
Doing well, Phil. How are you?
Man, we're doing great. Appreciate you being with us. And this is a huge game for both you and Chattanooga. You've got a chance to get your hands on first place in the SoCon with a win, but this Chattanooga team looks really, really good.
Well, they're an outstanding team. They're first for a reason. They've been playing extremely well. Their offense is excellent. Their quarterback, Jacob Huseman, is an outstanding player. They have a great deal of team speed offensively, and then I think defensively they're probably as good as any in the country. They have a scheme that has always been a tough one for us to try and score on, and we've always seemed to have a lot of knockdown dragouts. Last play, last 2 minutes of the game determines the game. So it's a game that is going to be a 4-quarter game. We're going to have to up our level of execution. We're going to have to take care of the football and come with a great deal of energy.
What makes Huseman so effective at quarterback? Why has he been so good here of late?
Well, I think the big thing is they understand the skill set, and he has excellent speed. He's quick. He has an above-average arm. He's a guy that knows where to go with the football. He can run. They do a great deal with him as far as running, and they'll run that fly sweep look that everybody's doing, and then all of a sudden, instead of him handing it, he's going to just insert straight ahead. And if you don't stay inside out on him and you let him get into the third level of your defense, he can run away from you. And I think, it's been a maturation process for him. He's a coach's son. I'm sure that he's had a lot of on-the-job training, not only at school but at home, and he's a guy that really cares about performing and doing the very best that he can do.
Of course, you have to look at their defense and be impressed. They have one of the best defenses in FCS football and ranked very high, of course, in the Southern Conference. And what do they show you defensively? Is it scheme, or is it their talent on defense that makes them so tough?
Well, I think two things. I think from a structural standpoint, their defense is sound as a dollar. Their personnel, you look at the two inside techniques, they're primarily an 8-man front. They vacillate between a man-free concept and just 3 deep zone. And when they want to tighten up on you and shut down your dink and dunk routes, they can do that. And their team speed on defense is outstanding. I would say that if there's many folks in the country that overall team speed-wise, it'd be tough to beat those guys. They remind me a great deal of North Dakota State when we play them out there in the playoffs. Everybody knows where to fit. Everybody is fundamentally sound. They tackle well in space, and they're just a heck of a football team.
It certainly sounds like it. It's going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff tomorrow over in Chattanooga. Game will be televised on ESPN3 with Pete Yanity and Will Merritt on the call there. Coach, best of luck to you. Things go well, you'll be sitting in first place next week in the SoCon.
That would be great.
Well, thanks for your time tonight, and best of luck tomorrow at Chattanooga. Coach Mike Ayers from Wofford. The Terriers lead this series 11-9, but Chattanooga got them last year 20-10. That was in Chattanooga, and they're having to go back to Chattanooga to Finley Stadium this year again. A place that seats just under 21,000. It's a beautiful stadium. And Chattanooga, which has struggled for so many years in football, finally has a team that lives up to the quality of its football facility. Thanks to Coach Ayers. Back in a moment. Once again, thanks to Coach Mike Ayers for joining us on Sports Talk. Good luck to the Terriers tomorrow at Chattanooga. If they can get their running game going, of course, they'll have a chance. I mean, that's what Wofford leans on. Of course, Chattanooga has a very good defense against the run. So it's going to be tough for them, but we'll see if they can get it done tomorrow and come back next week and be in first place in the Southern Conference. Denny Hamlin has won the poll at Phoenix, 142.113. Brad Keselowski next, followed by Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth. Then it's Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson, Brian Vickers, and Kurt Busch. That's your top 10 in qualifying at Phoenix. Taking a look at some of the high school football scores that have come through the Twitter wire here to us tonight. Dorman out in front of Riverside, 7-0. Rock Hill, 8-0 lead on Nation Ford. These are all first quarter scores. Great Falls is winning its game 15-6. Not sure off the top of my head who they're playing, but that's the score. South Florence leads West Florence 7-3. It's easily leading Greenville 14-0. And Holly Hill leads its game 14-0. Don't know who they're playing, but they lead. And let's see, Myrtle Beach on top of Gilbert 21-0 in their playoff game. York 10 and Clover 0. Sumter 10, Socastee 7. Then let's see, Great Falls 15, Ridge Spring Monetta 10. Did I say Great Falls earlier? Yeah, I guess I did. 15-10. Great Falls leading Ridge Spring Monetta. I'm trying to piece this all together, folks, as we look down the list here. Let's see here. And I don't see any other scores popping up. Oh, here we go. Beaufort 7, and who would MC be? Marlboro County? Yeah, Marlboro County 7, Beaufort 7. Lamar 14, North nothing.
That's tough for North. Very tough for North.
Somerville. Yeah. Somerville leading Bluffton 14-0. Boy, Bluffton had a promising year go down the tubes when they lost Blackshear to season-ending injury. They really haven't recovered from that. All right, K-Mac, final thoughts from you as you probably want to put your head down on the pillow after getting home about, what, 4 a.m.
Yeah,
yesterday?
long trek back from Winston-Salem. But, hey, a football free for the big teams this weekend, so I get to just be a football fan this weekend and watch a bunch of it on the TV, so looking forward to that.
Well, great job last night, and Steak Man, thank you for another great job as well. Thanks to my crew here at my bungalow along the Grand Strand. Appreciate them taking good care of me as well as always. Have a great weekend, everybody. Look forward to being back with you on Monday night. We look ahead to 2 big games for USC and Clemson next weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday night.